At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too, because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Mike Krueger. Sorry for the delay here. So there's this weird thing. So there's a streaming service that I use, and what it does, it allows me to stream over all different platforms, Facebook, YouTube, the works, and even to my 24-hour streaming channel. Well, every once in a while, when I go to toggle on Facebook, it says error, re-sign into your connect. So what I have to do is I have to stop the stream, I have to reset everything, and sometimes that can take a little bit of a process. So I have to disrupt this live stream, the work, so I apologize for that, but thank goodness I'm getting used to having that issue, and I can fix it pretty quickly. So here we go, and we are doing the show live this morning here on Coffee with Krueger. All right, so what do you say we take a look at some of the images that we have out there this morning, Lake Oroville, North Forebay. We're not really seeing much in the way of fog out there this morning, as pretty much as expected here. But we are going to be looking at clear skies, and it looks like a nice, cool start to the morning. Here we go, and we're taking a look at Red Bluff. We're taking a look at Sundial Bridge Drive on Highway 44. You've got mainly clear skies. And, oh, Kenny Elwood checking in this morning, saying good morning. Good morning to you. I just got your text. I was kind of looking at it here. I'll have to take a look at it a little bit later here. But there you can see we are going to be looking at those clear skies out there this morning. So we take a look also to the south here. And this is where we've seen most of the fog. And if you look closely to the south of us, Sutter Buttes, we are seeing some of that patchy fog. So as you head closer to Sacramento, as we've seen here, we are looking at a little bit of fog out there, but for most of us in the valley, at least, in our area, no fog. There may be some patchy fog out there, and most of the fog has been and will be in the mountain valleys, especially in Trinity, Del Norte, Humboldt, and even western Siskiyou County. All right, let's take a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Thursday, February 5th. All right, temperatures upper 30s, low 40s in the valley. It's cooling off a little bit. We're down to 37 in Redding this morning. It's cold. 21 degrees for El Turris, 25 for Susanville. And there you can see we are looking at temperatures in the 30s and 40s. Really mainly 40s, even some low 50s for you along the coast. So out the door this morning, sunny skies. We're going to be looking at some patchy fog, especially in Trinity County, maybe even western Siskiyou County, but a cold start to the day. Now we're beginning to see signs of change. The change I've been talking about, and that is cooler and wetter pattern as we go into the second half of the weekend and next week. And we're going to really dive into that in the deeper dive here a little bit. But you see those clouds to our south and that bit of a spin of low pressure? That is going to be working its way northward toward us over the next 24 hours. Now, I know what you're thinking, rain. No, it's just going to bring us some cloud cover and slightly cooler temperatures as we go in the next 24 hours. Let's take a look at that on Futurecast. Today, sunny skies. Gorgeous spring day again. Low 70s, upper 60s, low 70s in the valley. 60s for most of the higher elevations and for the coast. That's today. Sunny skies, right? But notice as we go into tonight, tomorrow morning, see that? See some of those clouds coming in from the south. That's that area of low pressure I was pointing out over Southern California right now. Again, it's not going to bring us any rainfall, but what it will do is bring us some added cloud cover. And as a result, temperatures may drop a little bit. All right, take a look at the Mount Shasta Ski Park. They're still open, folks. Of the 44 trails, 37 are open. Coyote Lift is closed and has been closed this week. 22 inches at the top of Douglas. They've got spring conditions. I know they've got some events going on this weekend, so they're still open. They're up and running, so if you want to get some skiing or snowboarding in, you can still do that out at the Mount Shasta Ski Park. Now, there is some hope for a little bit of snow. Unfortunately, not a lot. On Sunday, as the main system passes through, snow levels will be fairly high, between 5,000 and 6,000 feet. So you're going to be borderline at the ski park because the base of the ski park is 5,500 feet. If it should be all in the form of snow at those elevations 5,000 to 6,000 feet, you're talking less than an inch of snow. And that's essentially what it looks like, even for the upper elevations of the park. So unfortunately, not much going in on Sunday. And even though snow levels will drop for next week, we're going to be looking at moisture-starved systems next week, which means not a lot of rain and not a lot of snow either through next week. Take a look at the rainfall chances. we're beginning to at least see the chances in there for the valley. And we're looking at the valley, by the way. Their chances are much higher. You're in the 80% range for the coast, for example. But as you can see here, you're in the 10 to 20% range. It's not going to be a lot of rainfall, should we even see any. And Sunday, at this point, looks to be the best chance, at least in the immediate future. Now, temperatures today, again, we're talking about rain now. We're talking about the spring-like temperatures, right? Upper 60s, low 70s in the valley. Mainly 60s for the mountains. Some of the cooler spots in the mountains will reach the 50s, but otherwise, coast, mid to upper 60s there as well. Now, tonight, it's going to be the cool night. We'll call generally around 40 degrees for most of us in the valley. 20s, 30s for the higher elevations, and looks like low to mid 40s for the coast. All right, let's take a look at that 7-day forecast. Take a look at the valley. Now, chances for showers Sunday evening. Don't expect much. Better chances to the north end of the valley, like Redding, maybe Red Bluff. Slimmer chances for Chico. Chico, you may make it through the day on Sunday, even Sunday night, without a drop of rain. We'll see. I think dry across the board Monday. All of Northern California dry on Monday. And then maybe a chance for showers Tuesday and Wednesday. We're going to get into a little bit more detail later on what it looks like for next week and why I don't anticipate a lot of rainfall. But the coast, inland, even Trinity County, getting some decent rain on Sunday. Siskiyou County also some decent rain, but again, snow levels high, 5,000 to 6,000 feet. It's the evening for El Turris, Modoc County, Eastern Mountains in general, that we could see a chance for some of those showers there as well. Then on Monday, again, across the board, we're dry. Snow levels dropping 4,000 to 5,000 feet Tuesday. But again, it doesn't look like it's going to be much. All right, that's your Krueger's Quick Cast. Let's take a look at some of the cameras out there this morning, and we're taking a look out at Lake Oroville. We got clear skies. We're not looking at much in the way of fog there. Main Street, Chico, looks like we've got clear skies out there. And I had a chance to be out in Chico yesterday. I'm going to be out there again today. My car is out at the Tesla Service Center. Yes, I know. For all of you Tesla haters, there you go. I don't need to go into the details, but they had to keep it overnight. No big deal. It's not a big issue. Actually, it's actually a very small issue, but it's taking a little bit longer than anticipated. Highway 99 at Neal Road. Well, there you go. Clear skies there, looking for a beautiful sunrise. It looks like Red Bluff on I-5. We're kind of getting some daylight here. Getting kind of that time of the year, we're going to start seeing more daylight as we get in the show here. Sundial Bridge Drive on Highway 44. Looks like we've got clear skies there and a beautiful sunrise coming up over Lassen Peak. Sutter Buttes. Woo, look at that. Now that is gorgeous. But if you notice, we're kind of up in the higher elevations here. You're looking down into the valley, and this is south of Butte County, and of course see some of the fog that we are seeing. So you run, if you're heading down to Sacramento this morning, do note that you may run into some of that patchy fog. Well, I just updated this link to my weather computer, and it looks like it froze up again. But that was the latest image as of about 10 minutes ago. There you can see out in Crescent City this morning. Probably seeing a little bit more sunshine this morning there. There you can see Bald Hill West, and we are looking at the sun just coming up, but sucked in with that fog in the Hoopa Valley area. We're also looking at Soda Ridge. Look at just the snow-capped mountains there off in the distance, looking at the Trinity Mountains. Absolutely gorgeous there. And now we're taking a look at Fort Jones. Yeah, some patchy fog out there this morning. It's been off and on with that fog in Fort Jones and Scott Valley in general throughout the week, and you're seeing some of that this morning. Now we're taking a look at Lassen Park. And there's all the snow that we've seen. Doesn't look like there's been a whole lot of snow melt up there. It's still pretty cold as you start getting into that 6,500 to 7,000 foot range. Excuse me. But still seeing some of the snow up into the mountains there. Well, today is Thursday. We've got our NorCal Ag Report. Jerry O'Lennon went and talked to a guy in Marysville who has a mushroom farm and sells mushrooms at the farmer's market in Chico. Check it out.
Hi, I'm Jerry O'Lennon with Weather NorCal. This is the Ag Report sponsored by Lassen Canyon Nursery. I am in downtown Chico for Saturday's Farmers Market. This morning, I'm with Donald Simone. He is the owner of Mushroom Adventures, and you come all the way from Marysville to be at the Farmers Market. Yes. Why do you do that?
Well, we have to go where the markets are, and Marysville has a very small market. Can't make any money there, so we drive to where we have have enough clientele to sell our product.
You know, looking right behind me right now, you've got a very busy booth right now. You do good business here, don't you?
It does. It starts off early and keeps going, and I'm very happy with it.
What is it that makes good mushrooms? How do you know you have a good mushroom from a bad mushroom?
Well, that's a long story. I can't really sum it up in like 2 seconds. So you need an ID book. You need to test the mushrooms a little, if a scratch test, a sniff test, a spore color test. There's quite a few things. But we grow all our mushrooms indoors at our facility down in Marysville.
Yeah.
And that's why we know what we're selling. So this is not a guessing game. We didn't go out and pick these.
What do you think mushrooms are underrated? I do, because whenever I have them, I love them, and I think, gee, I should have mushrooms more often in my meals.
I think in the old days, they probably were underrated. I think recently, maybe in the last 4 or 5 years, there are a lot of specialty mushrooms have come out. Stuff that weren't accessible 5 years ago. And there's a lot of interest in trying these new mushrooms. And so we find people coming and purchasing them and try this week and this one that week, where they used to come and just buy, $5 worth of mushrooms. Now they're walking away with $15, $20 worth of mushrooms.
Real quickly, you have more than mushrooms. I see onions and some other items here that you sell.
Yes, we do. We pretty much sell all the mushrooms we can grow at a market. And so we decided let's expand our sales and do a little what I call peripheral growing. So we grow potatoes, onions, and garlic, and sweet potatoes also. And the idea is that they will not spoil. I don't want to grow kale, because if you don't sell it, you have to throw it away.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to grow storable items. Our mushrooms are perishable enough, so we don't need another perishable crop. So
it looks like you're doing a really good job. Donald Simone, the owner of Mushroom Adventures. You can find them at mushroomadventures.com. Thank you so much for being on our program.
Thanks so much. I'm glad I had a chance to talk to you.
Likewise. And there's your Ag Report. I'm Jerry O'Lennon for Weather NorCal.
All right, I want to thank Jerry for that report. And of course, I want to thank Laston County Nursery, and in particular Kenny Aylwood, for sponsoring the NorCal Ag Report. He's been a sponsor of, in fact, since we started the NorCal Ag Report, so very grateful for his support of the NorCal Ag Report and Weather NorCal in general. This is kind of interesting. We actually did get a report coming in from Jackie Dixon. During the Ag Report, I saw that she had mentioned that there was a 4.7 earthquake 81 miles off the coast at about 4:55 this morning. And there you can see, looking at our earthquake images, thank you, Jackie, for that, because I was able during the Ag Report to pull this map up, and we can take a look at what we've got going on here. So let's take a look at where it is. And you can see here, looks like there was another one just shortly after, about 6:26 this morning, at 2.2 magnitude earthquake. I think I should be able to, no, I can't. But a 4.7 as of 4:49 this morning. Let's see if we can do a distance on the map there. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. We're going to go into what we call edit mode here, and we're going to zoom it in on some areas here, and we will do how far it is. So there's the epicenter right there. Garberville, about 8 miles or so. Eureka, about 78. 86 from McKinleyville. Hoopa, about 108. Let's take a look now at, let me get that out of here. Get that out of here. I am going to go online here real quickly, and we're going to go tsunami. See if there's any tsunami issues or concerns. And as of right now, no tsunami warning, advisory, watch, or threat has been issued. And the latest report was, yesterday. So there's really nothing that is being reported based off of this earthquake, but I'll certainly keep a close eye on this. I'm going to keep this up. I'll keep your comments up as well, and we'll kind of see what's going on with that. But thank you again, Jackie, for that heads up. Did you feel it, Jackie? Did anybody out on the coast here feel that earthquake? Seemed like it was pretty far away, but definitely interesting nonetheless. All right. Before we get into that, let's take a look at some of your comments out there this morning. And we've got Rachel, who's also... Oh, by the way, I also wanted to check in with Kenny. Kenny Elwood, as you may or may not know, he's got his hands in a few things. Of course, he's got Lassen County Nursery. He's got his ranch, Elwood Ranch, beef, the works, right? And he's kind of got his hands in some restaurants as well. One of his latest projects is a restaurant called Divine. My wife and I had the pleasure of going into a soft opening. The food is absolutely divine. It was phenomenal. It's an Italian restaurant. They had a lot of great dishes there, and we just absolutely loved it. So I was very fortunate to do that on Sunday. Now, he just sent me a brochure. It says, before we open our doors, we set the table for you. Now, for those of you who don't know, Divine Restaurant that he opened up, or will be opening up, is where the old View 202 was, kind of behind Lithia Chevrolet, back in there. It's where the View 202 was. He of course, has that space now, and it's called Divine. So it's kind of cool what he's doing here. He says, show our current first responders. So he's actually going to be opening up the restaurant for the first responders. All they have to do is show their badge or ID, and they can enjoy a complimentary meal. And he's saying thank you for all that you do. So that's phenomenal. And that's what I always love about, Lassen County Nursery, Elwood Ranch, Elwood, Kenny Elwood in general. Very generous with the community and very involved in the community. So I'm just so grateful that he is also taking his brand and associated with Weather NorCal. So again, at Divine Restaurant, between 11 a.m. and 7:30 p.m., 202 Hempstead Drive. Of course, I mentioned that earlier. If you are a first responder, bring your badge, your ID, and you can get a complimentary meal at Divine. Now, let me tell you, food is phenomenal. Highly recommend it when they do open up. All right. We've also got, of course, good morning from Trinidad. We've got Curtis Brown saying good morning, everyone. Another beautiful day. Constance, she's actually asking about the earthquake. But we've also got Jay saying good morning, Mike. Jackie said Petrolia. I believe maybe they could feel it there in Petrolia. I'm not sure. Good morning, Mike. Late start, but always a great forecast with the weather and earthquake alerts. There you go. We got that earthquake alert up there. And Jackie said she didn't feel it. She says she didn't feel the earthquake in Trinidad. And we'll check one last time to see if there's any updates. And no, there are not. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that up to remind myself, because we're going to go into the deeper dive forecast. After the deeper dive forecast, we'll revisit the earthquake information, see if there's any new data coming in, and we'll kind of go from there. But in the meantime, let's get into our deeper dive forecast. Before we do that, I need to mention our sponsor of Coffee with Krueger, and that is Wind River Resort and Casino. At Wind River Resort and Casino, enjoy friendly service, a wide variety of specials and promotions, plus all of your favorite slots and table games. All right, so here's what we got. Above normal highs through Saturday, but we're going to notice a trend downward with the temperatures by tomorrow. In fact, highs closer to normal and even below normal through next week. Rain chances as early as Sunday, but there is low confidence in the overall timing and intensity of this rain. High confidence on Sunday as far as the amount of rainfall we expect, especially for the coast. But next week, there is definitely some low confidence in timing, where these storms will be, and how much rain and snow we'll get out of these storms. So let's get into all of that in our deeper dive forecast, which is sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Hearing isn't just about sound, it's about being part of every moment. This isn't your grandparents' hearing aid, it's a smart hearing aid for modern life. It's Bluetooth enabled, easy to control from your phone with your personal prescription, delivering the clarity you need. All that technology at half the cost of competitors, so you never miss a moment worth hearing. With our Here For You program, you get personal care and support every step of the way. This is what quality care sounds like.
All right, here we go. We're going to get into our deep dive forecast. Let's start off with the current temperatures out there right now. We're sitting at about 37 degrees for Redding, 38 in Chico, 39 out in Norville. We've got upper 40s to low 50s out along the coast this morning. All right, we take a look at our satellite image here, and you can see that we've got this cold front right here. Now, this cold front is still butting up against the ridge of high pressure. And if you notice a bit of a spin right here, this energy is going to be moving northward over the next 24 hours. It's not going to bring us much in the way of rain, if any. There may be a little bit of activity to our south, which we'll take a closer look at here on Futurecast here in just a bit. But this low pressure system is going to help to filter in some clouds here as we go into tomorrow. And the storm door is going to be opening, right? Here's the thing. You can put a welcome mat, you can open your door to anybody. Whether or not someone comes in and accepts your welcome is another story. And that's kind of what's happening with these storms. Let's talk about that for a second. So you can see here that that ridge actually kind of breaks down a little bit. We're seeing more clouds. Cooler temperatures as a result as we go into your Friday and Saturday, okay? So there's Saturday, but you notice Saturday, a weak ridge, still allowing the clouds to move in, and eventually even some very weak chance for maybe a sprinkle or two late in the day Saturday for the north coast. But then we're starting to see that first storm system push through on Sunday. Now, I think the bulk of the rain will be on the coast, Siskiyou, Trinity County, but east of that, not as much rainfall, and especially not as much rainfall for the valley. We may see a lot of shadowing. That is, when the rain goes down the mountains into the valley, that sinking motion prevents that rain from really kind of sustaining itself. Then as we go to Monday, I think we'll see a bit of a break. Now, again, the storm door at this point is open. Remember yesterday, I was talking about this yesterday, this low pressure system on Wednesday was over here. That's where all the rain was. We weren't within the rain. And remember I was saying, if we were to nudge this to the east, we'd see rain. Well, look at that. Based on the latest forecast model data, it is now riding all along the coast. This means a better chance for some rainfall. But here is the thing with this upcoming next week. The storms are coming from the north. Typically, storm systems that originate from the north are moisture starved. That doesn't mean there isn't any moisture at all, but there's very little amount of moisture. So typically with these types of systems, there's not a lot of rain and there's not a lot of snow. Now, if we can combine that with, Pineapple Express or an atmospheric river or a nice subtropical moisture, that would be great, but that's not what's happening here. We are just looking at these classic storm systems coming in from the Gulf of Alaska with not a lot of moisture, but it will bring us some lower snow levels through next week. But again, not a ton of snow. It's not going to help much with that snowpack, unfortunately. Moisture content. This is what I was talking about, how it's going to be fairly moisture starved. Now, Sunday, not so moisture starved. Look at this. We actually do have a nice stream of subtropical moisture that is going to be aimed right at the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. This is why I anticipate a good amount of rainfall for some of you along the coast, even Trinity County, Western Siskiyou County. But then look what happens. That shifts to the south. We're cut off from that flow, and we've got much drier air. Browns and kind of the blues here, that's pretty much dry air that we're going to be looking at here. Now, Thursday of next week, all right, maybe a little bit of moisture coming in, but not a lot. So that's what I was talking about, these moisture-starved systems. Not going to bring us a lot of rain and not going to bring us a lot of snow. All right, so let's take a look at the next several days. In fact, take you through the weekend, even into early Monday. Here we are today. Surprise, surprise, sunny skies, temperatures above normal, another beautiful spring-like day. We go into Friday, remember I was talking about that system? It's going to be pushing those clouds up from the south through the day on Friday. So I think we're going to see a little bit more cloud cover tomorrow. Temperatures dropping a little bit as a result. We're talking mid to upper 60s in the valley instead of the low 70s. Look at that. It's actually picking up on a little bit of rainfall trying to come in, but most likely staying dry. Saturday, increasing clouds, mainly dry. There may be a sprinkle or two to the north and west on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, but there's that main batch of moisture right here. So we go into Sunday morning. North coast, in particular, western Siskiyou, Del Norte, seeing the heaviest rainfall, but we are seeing some of that rainfall even into Humboldt County. 8 a.m. though, still dry for Trinity County, most of Siskiyou, and everywhere off to the east. In fact, clear skies to start off the day off to the east. Let's take you into Sunday afternoon. It slowly pushes to the east. It's going to be a slow-moving system, which is why we anticipate a decent amount of rainfall for the north coast. But look at this. As we go through the afternoon, we fill in Siskiyou County, we fill in Trinity County and all of the north coast. We start to see some of the mountains off to the east seeing a chance for showers. But look at the valley. We're not seeing much, are we? We take you into Sunday night at 10 p.m. Now we're starting to see a little bit more rain off to the east. Again, keep in mind, at this point, snow level's 5,000 to 6,000 feet. Now again, we're not seeing much in the valley. Remember, I was talking about it gets shadowed. Now, someone asked me a while back when I was talking about shadowing, they're like, what is shadowing? Well, let me tell you exactly what that is. So as these storm systems push from west to east, they ride up the mountains. As we force that air upwards, as that wind goes up the mountains, that upward motion is, it destabilizes the atmosphere. That is, you need a stable atmosphere in order for sun and no clouds. An unstable atmosphere means you're seeing clouds and rain, if there's available moisture, obviously. So as it goes up, we destabilize the atmosphere. The upward lift creates the rain. So we squeeze out all this moisture over here. But what happens is where the valley is, the storm then goes down the hill. That creates a stable atmosphere. That is, the storm system begins to fall apart. Things start to clear out a little bit here, but sometimes, depending on how strong the system is, it can make its way into the valley. So we may see a sprinkle or two, but as we get that downward motion, we see less and less of that rainfall for the valley. That's called the shadowing. But then, as it moves back up the mountains east of the valley, we get more of that upward lift. Look what happens. We begin to squeeze out more moisture, and even off to the north and to the east. That's Sunday night. As we go into Monday morning, that'll probably all shift eastward and things will start to dry out. So here's how much rain that is estimated from the forecast model, at least our in-house model. I think we could see upwards of an inch or more, especially to the north. See the bullseye here over Del Norte County? Less rainfall to the south, although Garberville seeing some pretty decent amounts of rainfall. And then less and less as you start heading eastward, including Trinity County, western Siskiyou County. And look at the valley. Nothing being picked up by the forecast model, but I think the north end of the valley, Redding could pick up a few hundredths to maybe upwards of a tenth of an inch of rainfall if we can get it to sustain Estelle. And you can see not as much rainfall off to the east. This is looking at a different forecast model through Monday, so there's going into Sunday night. But by Monday, I do expect dry conditions. There's the bullseye right there, a little bit of a bullseye to the south, much less rainfall for the valley, if we even see any, right? That light green, that's a hundredth of an inch of rainfall, right? So that's kind of a general idea. Then we kind of pick up a little bit more rainfall to the north and east of the valley. Again, going up the mountains, we squeeze out more moisture. And then we tend to see a little bit of shadowing even off over the high plains there of Modoc, northern Lassen, and even parts of eastern Plumas County as well. How about that snow? Well, as I mentioned, snow level is going to be fairly high initially, 5,000 to 6,000 feet. So there you can see the peak of Mount Shasta. That's it, right? That's where you see most of the amount of snow. But again, we were talking about out at the ski park. If we can get it in the form of snow 100%, you're talking less than an inch in most cases for the ski park. All right, so just kind of bear that in mind. Now, we will see snow levels drop going through next week, but remember, we're talking about moisture-starved systems. So even if we do get some snow for the ski park, at most all through next week, I'd say less than 6 inches of snow. And I think that would be generous if we got up to 6 inches of snow. So there you go, all right? But there is some hope for that wet weather because the Climate Prediction Center is putting us in that mid-February timeframe where we could be looking at the potential for wetter than normal conditions. And on top of that, cooler than normal conditions. So the cold air that they've been dealing with over the central and eastern United States that you've been hearing about, they're warming back up. On the flip side, we're going from warm to cooler. And that's essentially what we've got here going through next week. And you can clearly see that in the 10-day trend. Look at these temperatures. We're talking upper 60s by the time we get to Friday, Saturday, dipping back down a little bit more, and then even more by early next week. But on average, around 60 degrees through next week, which is around normal. And slightly below normal in some cases. So we take a look at the lake levels, still very healthy. We're starting to watch these historical averages drop a little bit, but we're still very healthy when it comes to the overall lake levels at this point. there's a beach hazard statement that has been extended for tonight through the day on Friday. We've got that risk for sneaker waves along the coast. All right, let's take a look at those wave heights. You can see they're going to be fairly high here for today. We take you into your Friday. A little bit of an amplification. It kind of backs off a little bit here. So we take a look at the marine forecast, and we do have a small craft advisory that will take effect this evening into tonight. But otherwise today, south winds at 5 to 10 knots, your waves from the west at 10 feet at about 14 seconds. So here's your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. You've got those temperatures in the 60s for the most part in Trinity County. So here's what we've got. Dry through Saturday. Best chance for rain, measurable rainfall, and decent measurable rainfall will be for Trinity County westward into the north coast. Where we're going to see most amount of rainfall would be to the south, around Garberville, Alder Point. You're going to see a nice little bullseye of rainfall. I think we'll see another little bullseye, in fact, a bigger bullseye of rain off over Del Norte County and less to the south, but still measurable and good measurable rainfall for all of the north coast, including the inland areas. Trinity County, western Siskiyou County, getting in on that rain as well. Central and western Siskiyou County, we'll see that rain as well. And you can see by the time we get to Monday, I think across the board, we'll dry things out. But then another chance for showers come Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. But in the meantime, today, beautiful, right? Temperatures mid-60s for the Modoc County. Temperatures mainly in the 60s for the eastern mountains, although around Shingletown Paradise, about 70. 60, though, in Susanville. For the south end of the valley today, I'd say you'll hover around the upper 60s to about 70 for that daytime high. Looking at Chico, and yeah, we've got dry conditions through Saturday. Now, here's the thing. I think there's a very good chance that Chico, you could make it through the day on Sunday without a drop of rain. The chances are going to be a bit higher for at least any type of rainfall to the north end of the valley by Sunday. But otherwise, look at today. 73 degrees out towards Redding, 72 for Lakehead, 71 degrees in Red Bluff. And here's a look at your 7-day forecast for Redding. I'd say by late in the day on Sunday, there may be a chance for some showers entering the picture here. Don't expect much. Most likely less than a tenth of an inch of rainfall if we even get that much. A break on Monday, much cooler Tuesday, Wednesday, and there could be some showers. And again, it all depends on the positioning of that area of low pressure and those storm systems. Are they going to ride down the coast, or are they going to ride well off to the west of us? If they ride well to the west of us, it's dry. But if they ride down the coast, then yes, we've got some wet weather. But again, keep in mind, remember, you need a decent amount of moisture in order to see that rain. So we're going to see the rain, but it won't be very heavy. And we're going to see the snow, but that also most likely won't be very heavy because these storm systems will most likely be a little moisture starved. We're going to kind of revisit that earthquake we had heard about this morning. Let's take a look at that. We're going to go and take a look, and you can see here as of 4:49 this morning, a 4.7 earthquake was detected. I don't have any reports of people who felt it. Let's see here. Oh, Jackie's saying that size and depth should not be a concern for a tsunami. And so again, here we are, several hours after that earthquake, haven't heard anything. So, and Jackie said she didn't feel the earthquake in Trinidad. So my guess is that most people didn't. And like Jackie was saying, the size of it's probably not that much of a concern. And it also depends. If it was one of those where it kind of lifted up like this, then you can displace that water, and that's when you tend to see those tsunamis. But otherwise, if it kind of separates like this, then it's typically not as much of a concern. So it depends on which type. But good to see that there are no tsunami watches or warnings or anything of that nature. So I'll keep an eye on it. But for now, looks like everything is A-OK. Seems like it's been a while since we've actually had any kind of earthquake activity. So interesting. And by the way, you look off to the east, you can see just southwest of Portola yesterday, 10:34 a.m., 2.4. And then in Nevada, there was one at 2:30 p.m. yesterday, a 2.0. All right, very small. But that is kind of the big headline this morning, at least on the coast, is you did see some of that earthquake activity, seismic activity as it's called. Well, let's get to, you know what, before we get to this, and we'll kind of we'll take a look at this here. I'm going to go full screen so I can kind of get everything set up here. But today is, let's see if it pulls up. There it is. There it is, my friends. Yes. Today is National Weather Person's Day. So I, of course, celebrate this with my fellow weather people, meteorologists, the like, because it is, well, I wouldn't say thankless, because I do get a lot of great comments from you all. And I always appreciate those comments. Is there a way I can take that? There we go. I always appreciate those comments. But there are some people who don't necessarily get that. So National Weather Person's Day. If you see a weather person on the street, tell them Happy Weather Person's Day. Let's see what it says here. See if there's a little description. Always celebrated on February 5th, National Weather Person's Day, known as National Weatherman's Day. Weatherman? I mean, come on, there are a lot of women out there who do the weather as well. But honors individuals working in meteorology, weather forecasting, and broadcast meteorology. The day also recognizes volunteer storm spotters, observers, and others who work in the... Oh, cool. So if you see a storm spotter, or if you are a storm spotter, Happy Weather Person's Day. The annual holiday commemorates the birthday of John Jeffries, born on this day in 1744. Now, Dr. Jeffries was, I didn't know about this, a scientist and surgeon, is considered one of America's first weather observers. Interesting. He kept weather records for 1774 to 1816. Additionally, Jeffries pioneered the field of ballooning into the United States and took his first balloon observation in 1784. How cool. I did not know that. That is very interesting. I absolutely love that. All right, well, there you go. I just kind of had to mention that. National Weather Person's Day. We'll take a look at some of the cameras out there this morning. Soda Ridge, taking a look off in the distance. You can see some of the snow-peaked mountains. Absolutely gorgeous. Have yourselves a great Thursday, everyone, and we'll see you right here tomorrow morning on Coffee Krueger at 6:30. Have a good one.